Okay, please count us down.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're live.
Oh, we are? Oh, good, great, thank you. Nothing like a hot mic. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Development Services Committee meeting to order. First order of business is just make sure that you have your cell phones silenced while you're in chambers. And when you come up to speak at the podium, just adjust the microphone so it's close enough to be able to be heard by everyone here and online. And just by way of decorum, the public shall respect the decorum of the meeting, refrain from public outbursts or behavior intended to disrupt the discussion, and please respect the dignity and rights of all persons present, not ridicule, demean, or intimidate any person. However, if you are watching the Leaf game tonight on your phone while we're in session, please don't cheer too loudly. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and the ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of the Rama First Nation, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the William Trees First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Just a note that Councillor Clark sends his regrets for this evening's meeting. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, May 7, 2025 be received and approved as amended to add as item 7, closed session, Brent Spagnol. I'm sorry, not closed session. Add as item 7D, Brent Spagnol, Director, Development Services, correspondence dated May 6, 2025. From Lorraine Denise Smith, Partner, Oro Group Limited, request to defer development charges payment.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? The motion is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, if you find yourself in that situation, please declare it at that time. May we have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the previous Development Services Committee meeting?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarifications required for the minutes, please? Oh, seeing none, I call the vote to adopt the minutes. All in favor? Thank you very much. You're going to be okay? Yeah. All right. So tonight we have 3 public meetings and 4 hearings, and thank you everyone who's here tonight who may have missed their opportunity last month, but we had something of a peculiar month, as you all know. So the public meetings, there'll be a statement read before each public meeting or hearing, and I'll explain the process. The procedure will be utilized for each meeting. Each application will be considered separately. Staff will advise of the purpose and effect of the application, provide any relevant information, note any correspondence that has been received to date, and advise of any statement received from the applicant, or if the applicant intends to make a presentation. If so, the applicant will then be given the opportunity to make a brief presentation. After the presentation, any members of the public that have been registered to provide comments or who are in chambers will be given the opportunity to speak to the application being considered. The Deputy Clerk will advise of those who have registered, and finally, staff will confirm if any further correspondence has been received during the public meeting or hearing. There will be a separate statement to be read at the start of each scheduled meeting and hearing. With that, we will move on to the first public meeting, which is application item 5A on the agenda, application 2024 ZBA-20 and 2024 sub-02. The applicant is 1001940-312 Ontario Inc., Robinson Moonstone Subdivision. The municipal address is Concession 8 East, Part Lot 15, RP 50, Registered Plan 51R 5854, Part 1. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment and subdivision applications 2024 ZBA 20 and 2024 sub-02 submitted by 1000940-312 Ontario Inc. on lands municipally known as Concession 8 East, Part Lot 15, and Registered Plan 51R 5854, Part 1. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision later on the zoning bylaw amendment and subdivision applications. Madam Deputy Clerk, have we received communications on this application?
Correspondence has been received from Richard Mugridge, dated February 20 and March 13, Watson and Associates Economists Limited on behalf of Simcoe Muskoka Catholic District School Board, dated March 3rd, Enbridge Gas, March 3rd, Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, March 3rd and April 15, Severn Sound Environmental Association, March 12, Canada Post, March 12, Ashley and Jeremy Truax, March 16, Jill Bentham, March 17, Hydro 1, March 17, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, March 20, Simcoe County District School Board, March 20, County of Simcoe Transportation and Engineering Department, March 21, Suzanne and Derek Wicks, March 22, Township of Oro-Medonte Development Engineering Operations and Environmental Services, dated April 9, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the bylaw amendment and subdivision applications, and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. So the agent for this application is actually doing the presentation today, so I'm going to hand it over to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robinson, please, I believe. Oh, excuse me, yes, it says Chris Jones.
Yeah, Thank you, Mr.
Please.
Chairman. I'm just going to say a couple words up front and then hand it over to Chris Jones to.
Okay, so you are Mr. Robinson.
I'm
Just to
Mr. Robinson.
confirm
I'm not the agent. I'm the applicant here.
Yes,
The
thank you
agent
very
is
much.
Mr. Jones. So, thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Worship, members of council, and members of the public. My name is Jamie Robinson. I'm one of the owners of the property that's submitted this application to the municipality. We have a presentation that we provided. If you could just flip to the slide. Just like to make a couple introductions. Mr. Chris Jones is here. He's our planning consultant. We've also got a team of professionals here, our environmental consultant, as well as our engineers from Tatham Engineering. If there's any questions that come about related to those specific areas, they're available to answer questions. Mr. Jones will be doing the presentation. We know we've got a short amount of time, and we know the purpose of tonight's meeting is to really hear from the public as much as possible.
Thank you.
So just if you go to just jump 2 slides in would be great. There, so just this slide just illustrates how we intend to navigate our presentation. I'll just provide a bit of a history of ourselves and our ownership of the land, and then Chris will provide an overview of the application and some of the details with respect to that. I also just wanted to point out a number of you were in attendance for that meeting, but we did have a community meeting in Coldwater at the Legion where we had, I would say, just over 50 people in attendance, and we had some great feedback and questions that were provided. I think we spent about an hour and a half with everybody, and it was a fantastic turnout from the local residents. So there's some familiar faces here today, but much of that feedback we've already taken into consideration, and we're planning on how we can address those comments moving forward. And we are preparing a comment summary matrix that will provide to staff of how we've made modifications to the proposed development plan based on the comments that are received. So just briefly about ourselves, we've owned our family has owned this property since 1905. Just flip to the next slide, that'd be great. My father, as well as myself, were born and raised in Moonstone. We really have a history of community involvement, whether it's through fastball in Vasey and minor ball in Vasey, as well as minor hockey in Coldwater, and then also through firefighting. My father was a volunteer firefighter for 40 years for the township, and we've got a quite long history of community service, and we intend to, I think you'll see some of that reflected through the plan and through the parkland and trails that exist through the development. For a long period of time, the snowmobile trail for Ontario did pass through the property. And that many neighbors of the property have used the lands throughout time for walking their dogs and going on walks themselves. And that's one of the key impetuses to this, or one of the key factors or considerations in this development is how can we connect the community together. So you'll see in the plan connections from Moonstone Road to Ramey Park, connections from the development to the west to Ramey Park, as well as numerous connections throughout the development to really have an integrated trail network throughout the community to give people an opportunity to recreate within the community. We've also hired an Azimuth Environmental, and really one of our focuses is how to preserve the key environmental features through the existing development. So you'll see protection corridors. We've tried to align the pedestrian connections and trail connections with those existing environmental corridors. And then we've tried to provide generous setbacks for development. You'll see that many of the lots in the areas of the existing hardwood bush, those are the areas of the largest lots, because our hope is to try to preserve as much vegetation as possible through the construction of the development. We don't want to see a complete clearing of the site like you see in many areas. We'd like to see the preservation of what we can through the development process. I'll turn it over to Chris now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. If you could just state your name before you commence. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name's Chris Jones, and I'm the planning consultant retained by the Robinsons to assist them with this application. Thanks very much for having us tonight. So I'm going to try to walk through the planning rationale as well as the technical rationale. As Jamie mentioned, we have the various consultants that were responsible for the technical work. We have them here. If there's more specific questions, you do have a full agenda, so we're just going to try to again walk through the basis of the application. And it's been it's been like any subdivision application. It's a long road just to get to this point. Big commitment on the part of the Robinson family, and as I say, a lot of work, and we appreciate the opportunity to appear tonight. Who's doing this? Andy? Okay. Okay, so just move ahead there, Andy. Okay, so just as far as the planning background, your official plan has identified Moonstone, and in particular these subject lands, which have an area of about 24 hectares. And your official plan has identified these lands as being part of the settlement area for the better part of 25 years or so. And so on that basis, we have, again, in your official plan, language which obviously envisions or contemplates a sort of a development end state for these lands. and in particular to permit single detached dwellings. And of course, there's, through provincial policy as well as your own official plan, there are a number of technical policies requiring the subdivision applications to be appropriately supported. So to that end, let's just jump ahead there, Andy. Again, there's a number of technical studies which accompany the application: environmental impact, hydrogeological, archaeological, geotechnical, hazard lands assessment, stormwater management, functional servicing, traffic assessment, as well as planning justification. So just in terms of the plan itself, again, 24 hectares, frontage on Line 8 as well as Moonstone Road East or the County Road 19. Frontages on the county road of about 225 meters, frontage on Line 8 of about 250 meters. 68 proposed lots, and those lots range in area from 1,500 meters to I think 3,700 square meters. The proposed parkland block is intended to complement or integrate with the existing park in Moonstone, Ramey Park, as well as a number of open space blocks which have been established or proposed through the site, essentially to accommodate existing watercourses, natural features, and existing drainage. If we just jump ahead, what we have here is again a conceptual rendering of the plan. Gives you a better idea of the context for integration of the parkland block, 3 proposed stormwater ponds, and again the integration or connection through existing Agnes Street as well as a direct connection to Line 8. No proposed connection to the Backley lands to the west or to the county road. Just next slide there, I think. Okay, so I'll just again try to walk through some of the salient aspects of the technical work that was done, starting with the environmental or natural heritage assessment. And the scope of this type of report, of course, is sort of predicated on provincial policy and local official plan policy, which requires, firstly, the identification of natural heritage features and where identified, the protection and maintenance of those features. The EIS also looked at species at risk, and again, in the identification of key natural heritage features, recommendations are focused on avoiding or restricting development in such areas, mitigation, and in a lot of cases, the work of the natural heritage experts doesn't end with a report like this. There's things that need to be monitored, things that need to be assessed as the site evolves in a development context. Next slide. So in sort of summation, the Azimuth Environmental, the natural heritage consultant, concluded that the proposed development would not result in negative direct or indirect impacts of natural heritage features or species at risk. Again, the report did identify wetland features and riparian features that required protection, as well as appropriate buffering. That was integrated or accommodated through the official plan. And again, the need to as the development proceeds to assess things like species at risk or endangered species like black ash, which are identified on the site, but at this stage are considered not at risk of impact, as well as fishery screening. If we could just move on to the next slide, we'll talk about natural hazards. And when we talk about natural hazards with this site, essentially what we're talking about is the way that the site historically and in a post-development scenario will manage floodwaters. So there is existing drainage patterns across the site, three existing man-made ditches. And so the assessment that was undertaken essentially identifies or establishes appropriate flood hazard setbacks from these existing ditches. And that in turn helps inform, again, development design as well as stormwater analysis and transportation considerations around road crossings and that type of thing. And there's the next slide is just again a visual of when the engineer takes on a study like this. Obviously, there's the pre-development situation and the post-development situation. And so, really, what these two illustrations help identify or illustrate is that the nature of existing drainage through the site is essentially proposed to be maintained, and again, but through design and engineering within the context of a subdivision plan, to ensure that the nature of those hydrologic flows are managed and maintained in the context of pre-development situations and post-development situations. So that's not a bad segue into stormwater management. And as we saw on the subdivision plan itself, as well as the rendering, what the engineers have proposed as far as stormwater management is a series of 3 inline ponds. And again, there's that certainly addresses quantity, the quantity scenario of stormwater storage itself. But then there's also the quality situation of essentially trying to ensure that as that water moves through the site, that the quality of it as it leaves the site is improved. And so that's where, again, there's engineering design, and so we have design features like plunge pools, dry ponds, oil grit separators, or oil grit mechanical treatment devices. These are all things that are integrated as part of that stormwater plan. The report concludes that the post-development scenario can manage post-development flows to 1 to 100 year storm frequency, as well as the regional Timmins event. So let's just move to the servicing summary. So again, Moonstone, as we're aware, is a partial service community. That means there is a water system, but septic servicing is by Class 4 septic systems on site. So key element to the servicing assessment was the consideration of the nitrate criteria under the Ministry of Environment Reasonable Use Guideline. And of those 68 lots, there was about 2/3 of those lots were recommended for what we call tertiary treatment. And that's just a measure, it's another design measure as part of your septic system to essentially try to take out or remove more nitrates before the effluent gets to the filter bed. And in employing that that form of tertiary treatment, the design then is in line or consistent with the ministry reasonable use criteria for nitrates. Water supply, of course, will utilize the existing water system in Moonstone through extensions of existing water mains from Agnes and Bockley. And then also proposed would be a 150 meter extension of the water main from the 8th line. It was identified that water storage volume for the Moonstone community to accommodate this development would need to be increased. So that is a sort of a capital undertaking and something that the developer would need to work with the municipality to figure out the sort of ways and means of enabling that additional storage capacity. And then we have, let's just move to the traffic summary. And so again, the traffic assessment considers the impact of 68 new single detached dwellings within the development area, within the settlement. And again, with those, let's just move to the next slide there. Again, with the understanding that new traffic connections are proposed from Line 8 as well as the extension from Agnes. And so then the focus of assessment becomes the pattern or modeling of traffic flowing from those new access points. If we just move to the next slide. And again, this just provides a graphic or an illustration of the assessment and consideration of those existing entrances, the current state of those intersections and their ability to accommodate existing traffic volumes compared to, again, proposed traffic volumes resulting from 68 additional residences. Overall, the study concluded that the proposed development would not have a significant impact on the adjacent road network, and the traffic generated by new residential units would be accommodated by the current road system with no need for road or intersection improvements. And let's just jump ahead there. So as Jamie mentioned, we took the step of scheduling our own open house. That happened March 4th in Coldwater, and it was very well attended. And essentially, this presentation, which I've walked through tonight, was the presentation which was provided that night with each of the members of the consultant team speaking to their components of the application. And so obviously we took a lot of questions and heard a lot of comments formally and informally that evening. And so certainly we heard concerns about existing stormwater infrastructure within the development to the west, and whether this application presents opportunities to address or fix any potential issues there. Concerns about traffic, construction impacts, stormwater management and site hydrology. We heard concerns about tree removal, environmental impact and buffering, as well as questions and concerns about the school. And again, support in some instances for the way that the road connection was managed by not intersecting the county road, not intersecting the Backley subdivision to the west, as well as support for the park expansion and the manner in which it's proposed to complement the existing Ramey Park, as well as the aspect of the proposal involving trail linkages and that type of thing. And so that just, from there, we look at next steps, and certainly as council is aware, applications like this they're a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so even though there was certainly a lot of work that went into this leading up to the complete application of February 27th, public meeting is tonight, obviously, and we will move forward from there and work diligently with staff in the municipality and the various agencies that have put questions and comments on the table, as well as members of the public. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you, and if there's questions and comments, we'll certainly address those.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Jones or for staff with regard to the current presentation? Yes, Councillor Young.
Thank you, Deputy. I've just got a couple of questions. I've been approached, or at least asked by some residents in Moonstone there, Valley View. And I know you got some long, thin areas there. I'm pointing out to which appear to be blocks. I'm looking at 75, or at least 15, 16, and 28, 27, and looks like 9 and 10. What are those long corridors? They've been named. Are they on that?
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, what's the reference? Do you have the reference to a block number? Or?
Yeah, I'm just going to give them a minute here. Is it block 75? Okay, block 75. Yeah, it is block 75, and it's just a long,
right. So, okay,
a corridor.
Yeah. So block 74, block 75, 76. Those are the trail corridors that are proposed to integrate and essentially offer some form of pedestrian passage, walking, running, biking.
To the trail system.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason I asked is that whether or not, again, this is in the preliminary stages, and again, I've had residents approach me, or at least advise me that whether those corridors can be extended to Valley View, and otherwise, the people that live in that area have to walk completely around typing, as opposed to simply walking at the end of the dead end there to the trail system itself. Is that possible? Or, I mean, this is another concern, I guess. You rattle off the concerns there, but can that be done?
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Again, it's what you have in front of you is a proposal, and it's something that the developer is sort of genuinely putting in front of council and the municipality as something that they think is workable and they'd like to see. But again, it's something that at the end of the day, to get to the next stage requires, again, municipal input as to whether the municipality feels that that particular aspect is something that's workable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Councillor Young?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The other concern was people that live on Moonstone. As I read the map here, at least the schematic, that some of the houses that are planned are going to back onto the backyards of those people that live on Moonstone. And what they're asking for is some sort of buffer, whether, I don't know what the tree system is along there, whether it can be some sort of tree buffer, whatever, again, expressed by a neighbor, or at least a concerned citizen up there. This is a big development, and again, I don't know how many trees along there, if any, but it's just a way of maintaining their privacy as they have for years prior to this development being proposed.
Yeah. So if we just look at that rendering, and again, this is a rendering, but it is intended as some indication that it would be the preference of the developer proponent to see a development scenario that would integrate or maintain as much existing natural vegetation, natural trees as possible. Like a lot of areas of the municipality, that woodlot has taken a beating in the last about a month ago or so. But more to your question, the ability ultimately to maintain vegetation can be leveraged or manifested in a couple of ways, potentially through greater rear yard setbacks intended to maintain that buffer, or potentially through provisions in the subdivision agreement itself.
Yes, please go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you for those answers, Mr. Jones. I'm just curious about something. I haven't walked that property as yet, but all I see is, I guess, man-made ditches to drain the property in part. Are there actually fish in that? Is there any rivers or ponds that would habitat fish?
Yeah. So the do you want to speak to that, Lisa?
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. If you would just state your name when you come up to the microphone and adjust it. Thank
Hi.
you.
I'm Lisa Moran from Azimuth Environmental. There's no fish habitat in any of those drainage features or watercourses on the property. They would provide indirect fish habitat to fish habitat downstream off property.
Thank you very much for those answers. Any questions from any other members of the committee? Oh, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you. Actually, I don't have a question. I did see the first presentation in Coldwater, which is very well done. I just want to thank you, Mr. Jones, and your team for taking the time to do that initiative, because it takes a lot of the questions. There's no doubt we all fear the worst of the unexpected, and we all, as much as we don't like how things are today, we don't like change. So it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. But thank you for taking that initiative, because it does help not just inform us, but the public in the area, and puts a lot of people's minds at ease. So thank you for taking that time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. More of a comment in that this is, in my term, the first development proposal that I've seen where there seems to be a sincere commitment to preserving the tree canopy in the area. We've seen some recent developments going up in Horseshoe Valley area where, you know, it's just been completely clear cut, and it's a really devastating thing to witness. And I personally had proposed a bylaw to try and help mitigate some of that type of clear cutting, just so we could, when we're looking at development, looking at a plan like this where clearly there's that preservation, excuse me, I'm struggling a little bit tonight, where there's that preservation appears to be top of mind, and hopefully, you know, that does end up being the end vision here. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison. Any further questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, do we have anyone registered to speak, either via Zoom or in person? Sorry.
Yes, thank you. We received one registration, Richard Mugridge.
Mr. Mugridge, is it? Yes, please come up to the microphone and adjust it and state your name. Thank you.
My name is Richard Mugridge. Councillors and everyone from the public that have turned up, thank you so much. It's a very important time. I own the lands directly to the south that are adjacent to this property. I've owned the land for 7 years. I've lived in Moonstone for 5 years, and what I see before me, I've read the environmental impact study. I've done a fair amount of research into this. I think these guys have done an amazing job of presenting half of the truth. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I'm looking, first of all, I question the need for, I should point out I'm not some hardcore kind of loony left-wing environmentalist. I do live here. My 100 acres, 95 acres, is under preservation, under a forest program, and has recently been decimated by the ice storm that we've had. The issue with that is we've got a lot of red pine on that land, 40 acres on that land, 60% of that is gone. The deciduous trees that are left over have been hit probably to the tune of maybe 40%, 50% damaged, maybe 60% damaged. This is a really, really bad hit for an environment that's a very sensitive environment, and one of the things that Azimuth did, and I really think that their report, and I've seen a few reports of this type before, they've really done a very good job with it. But unfortunately, what I don't agree with is the way that they have kind of glossed over the mitigation for the very subject matter that they've brought up as being, well, specifically sensitive habitat where you've got endangered species that are being, you've got the black ash, which is an endangered species. You've got the little brown bat meiosis, which is endangered. And you've also got the eastern wood pewee, which is a bird. So you've got flora, a mammal, and fauna. You've got the whole lot. There are three different endangered species on that particular land that I don't see on my land. I don't see very many bats. I don't have much black ash, and I've never seen an eastern pewee there before. In fact, I didn't know that the eastern pewee was there until I saw this report. So again, I applaud them for that honesty, that transparency. Their mitigation is that if the species are disrupted, then they will simply move south onto my land. Well, there's no scientific evidence for that whatsoever. I think that we first and foremost need an environmental impact study that is not recommended by the township of Oro-Medonte from a list. I think that we should have something that is impartial. That's why I say it's not entirely truthful, it's half truthful, because they have a vested interest. They're being paid by the Robertsons to do an environmental study that is supported at least by Miss McCarroll, because it's from a list that she supplied the Robinsons with. That seems to me to be a complete conflict of interest.
Yeah, I think we'll refrain from those comments if you don't mind. Thank you.
That it's a conflict of interest?
Yeah, we're not here to establish whether or not parties are in a conflict of interest.
Okay. Well, I'm just establishing the validity of the information that we're working from.
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to
I don't want to see anyone disparage the qualifications of any other party here, or perhaps their motivation.
No, well.
So if there are species, and there are those sorts of concerns, please proceed with those, but we won't be challenging one another's institutional right to represent themselves unless you want to take it to another court.
Okay, so with the damage done to the environment, you've got a lot of, they're called snag clusters. That's where bats will hide out. And I think for 2 weeks, they put up microphones and found that there were bat colonies or bat activity in the area. I think that 2 weeks is not enough to determine where the maternity roosts are. And I don't think they've identified that. I don't think they've identified where the bats go in the winter if they're not in that land, if they're not in the snag trees. They simply don't know. So any heavy equipment going into that area is going to not only compact the soil, remove the habitat further, which it's already under stress, but in the bottom right-hand corner of the illustration with all the trees, they're all deciduous trees. That's not the case. In actuality, they're all red pine in that bottom right-hand corner. It stood up better than the red pine on my land, probably because it was planted maybe 5 or so years before mine. So about 40, 45 years ago, that would have been planted probably in the 80s at some point. That wasn't hurt as much as mine. I'm thinking probably because they're closer together, probably because their root systems are better established, and probably because they're all connected across the forest. So they did rather well. That's another reason to leave that intact. Now I know that builders will not leave red pine up because it doesn't have any value. It doesn't last as long as deciduous trees, and we've seen in the rest of the area that monoculture trees, they're both man-made, they're both man-planted. They don't do as well as deciduous trees over time. So we've got black ash there, we've got bat colonies that we don't know where they are, we don't know where the nesting grounds for the pewee are. There's no mention of fishers. There's fishers on that property. I've seen 4 in 7 years. That's how rare they are. There's bear that walk through there. That's also a risk to people that are going to have dogs and cats running around. I also have a concern with how anyone thinks that they can manage 68 houses with a roof runoff and tarmac and driveways and septic systems individually built into each one of those houses. I don't think it's going to look anything like the image that we're seeing here. I think Ms. Hutchinson has a concern. I share that concern. I think that what we're seeing here is a fiction. It's very slick, but I don't believe it will look anything like this based on my knowledge of building I know that in order to get those infrastructures in there, they're going to have to take down large swaths of trees. That is vital habitat for these creatures that we're talking about. And I could go on and on and on about, because I have every act here that I think is being stepped on, such as the Species at Risk Act, which has been mentioned. But if you go through that, I mean, there's too much to go through. But basically what you can't do is affect any environment that houses this kind of species at risk without being held accountable for it by law. So, I mean, this is a deep subject, but it goes on also the Migratory Bird Act, because the Pee-wee is a bird act. And these acts are also, they're federal as well as provincial. And Canada's even signed an international treaty with 150 countries to protect endangered habitat from or sensitive habitat from endangered species. So there's about 5 or 6 contraventions here, and it's really important that, and the fines, they range from, and the people involved with those range from $15,000 on the first offence, $1 million on the first offence, 3 years imprisonment. On a second or subsequent event, it's $30,000 and $2 million, and in some cases more than 3 years or both. And this is for everyone that's involved with the destruction of crucial and sensitive habitat. So that's the Migratory Bird Act. Then I've got the Department of Fisheries Act, which, although sorry, what's your name? Lisa, we're saying that there's no spawn and eggs and stuff like that. Everything that comes through there and any waterway that's changed there has to be reported to the Department of Fisheries. Anything in regard to a bridge or stream or course on a proposed lot has to be approved by the Department of Fisheries, because you're creating runoff of all those roofs and it's all going to flood, it's all going to go down into the watershed. We saw what happened down in Woodrow this year, where the river went up 15 feet. And you can't control that amount of water. To think that 3 catchment areas which exclude animals from reaching them because they have to be fenced off because of insurance purposes, you're now denying migratory animals in that area a source of water. There's only one, actually, there are 3 sources of water. Two of them are natural, and the one on this property seems to be more of a watercourse that's been altered, and I'm not sure that even that alteration at the top left-hand part of the diagram has even been reported to the Department of Fisheries. That one, that is in contravention of the Fisheries Act. That's something that we have to look at as well. Screening for the Species at Risk Act. Essentially, and I could talk about this for an hour and a half. I don't have an hour and a half, so I'm trying to keep it as quick as I can. The Ministry of the Environment, Conservation Parks, and the Species of Risk branch offers a checklist to confirm that all areas are being explored and all applicable information sources, and to support your discussion with the ministry staff at a preliminary screening stage must include a list of conservation authorities you have contacted, a list of local naturalist groups you've contacted, a list of local indigenous communities you have contacted, a list List and any other local land trusts or environmental non-government organizations you contacted, a list of field studies that were conducted to identify species at risk or their habitat likely to be present or absent at or near a site. So a study of adjacent land to the south would be required to identify species at risk and habitat loss. And lastly, it says, list what you think the likely impacts of your activity are on species at risk and their habitat, e.g. damage or destruction of habitat, killing, harming or harassing species at risk. And then we've got the Canadian Environmental Protection Act of 1999, which is an act respecting pollution prevention and protection of the environment and human health in order to contribute to sustainable development.
Excuse me. Would it be acceptable that you submit this to the developer themselves and then permit them to respond at the public hearing, which I understand to be in the fall?
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is all public knowledge. I mean, it's all
right. And
I mean, if you want, I can. I mean, someone's taking notes here. Pretty much everything has been written down. So,
right.
The Canadian Environmental Act, the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, and it's. I just pulled it off and had a look at it because I'm doing my homework and finding out exactly what it is that's happening with this land that we're not being told. I think, and I'm not anti-building. I mean, it's annoying that I've moved from a city that is really noisy with construction all the time, to be honest, come here, find this piece of paradise and have this put on here. But I'm not saying that what they're doing doesn't have its place in our society. Although I do question why Backley have a 30-year subdivision that's been there for 30 years. 19 of those lots have not sold yet. We've got two or three houses on Agnes that have gone up that have been up for over a year and haven't sold yet. We've got
I think those are questions that the developer and the builder will have to resolve in terms of what their economic motivation is. But in terms of characterizing what it is we're looking for here tonight, which is input on environmental concerns or planning concerns or traffic concerns. The developer has hired an environmental expert to review these matters. I'm certain they're more than well aware of the legislation that you're citing, or they wouldn't be offering their services. I'm sure they don't do so casually, but they do so professionally. So if you take those concerns and submit them to the developer and simultaneously submit them to the township, then we can confirm that they answered those questions at the public hearing. But, for the purposes of tonight, there probably are other people who might want to speak to this issue. And there are a number of other applications that we have to hear.
Understand. I count about 6 different acts that this may well contravene. So that's my concern. And I think I'm aware of greenwashing. I'm aware of the damage that vehicles that drive through this property, even if you put in the road system before you've got all your funding, the damage is done. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Okay.
Right. That's my part. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any other parties registered to speak tonight, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, there were no further registrations received.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here please step up to the microphone and state your name, sir. One at a time.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Ellen Holden Rogers and Kurt Rogers. I'm Kurt. Live at 34 Backley, and I agree with the mayor. Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson, for the meeting at Coldwater. I thought it was excellent opportunity for the community that lives nearby, and specifically Ellie and I, to the west at 34 Backley. There's 2 things that I just want to try to drive home to the township. We moved in and had a beautiful home built by Tom Backley, and everything was green light, green light, green light. quite a small home, only 1,500 square feet. But many years later, in fact last year, it came to our attention that the drainage hadn't been accepted yet in the Backley subdivision by the township. They're picking up our garbage, we're getting water, we're paying for our water, we're paying for all of the other services, garbage, perfect. But the drainage system had not yet been accepted by the township. And that led to quite a pointed conversation with the developer and with the township over drainage. We have an easement, the township has an easement on our property to maintain the ditch. But all of a sudden, out come drawings from 1997, which we were never shown as a purchaser, and it indicated there would be a road on that easement on our property. So my tip to the township, and I mentioned this at our March meeting with Mr. Robinson and the consultants, is please, township, have everything, and I mean everything, I don't know what kind of a deal went down with, rest his soul, Dave Backley and the township, but please have the drainage and everything else, the entire infrastructure approved by the township and their very sharp engineers before one hi-ho digs one basement. If you do not, especially to the north and west of this development, it's soupy. It is very wet. There will have to be tons and tons and tons of fill brought in to build homes. So my concern, charge ahead. I have no problem with the development. I love all of the trails. We walked our dog, Mr. Robinson, many times through their property. I just hope that the drainage and all the other infrastructure is approved before one damn house gets built. Because you shouldn't come a knocking, township, 25 years later, and say, oh, by the way, Ellen and Kurt Rogers, we'd like to build a road on your property. It'll be a cold day in hell when that happens. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Message delivered.
I hope so.
Councillor Young.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the gentleman, what house number do you live at?
As mentioned in my introduction, 34.
That's what I thought it was, okay.
34.
And you're referring to the road that's going to be proposed in the subdivision, is that correct?
No, I'm referring to an easement on the back of several properties.
Yes.
36 was going to be dramatically impacted because some people called it a creek, other people refer to it as a man-made drainage ditch to accommodate the development by the Backleys for an extra lot. But there is a man-made ditch there and several homes, and we bought it knowing there was an easement. I'm not backing up on the township on that at all, but you have the right to maintain that ditch. You do not get the green light from Ellen and Kurt Rogers to build a damn road on our property. So whatever is submitted by Mr. Robinson, whatever final plan of subdivision is agreed to by the township, make sure this township gets all of the infrastructure in place and approved, including the drainage, before any houses get built. Because you can't come 25 years later, sir, and say, oh, by the way, we're not accepting the drainage, and that the Backleys have bent over backwards. There's been excavators dredging out phragmites, invasive species, cattails, trying to improve the drainage. There clearly was a fumbling of the ball, and we can all point fingers either at the developer Backley
Thank you.
or the township.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just brief question.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes,
Rogers,
Mr. Young.
thank you, Deputy. May I come up and see it, your place next week? I believe I know where you are and what you're referring to, but I'd like to see it firsthand.
Sure, not a problem. More
Thank-
than welcome.
thank you.
You want my phone number, maybe just to confirm the time? 7:05?
Please step up to the microphone. We have to record this event.
Yeah. 705 734-0122. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll get the infrastructure in order. Anyone else who would like to speak to this matter? Please, sir, step up.
Jeff Lindegaard, I live on Duncan Drive. I just took more exception to slide 20 where they went through concern, and then support for traffic going through the existing neighborhood. I was at the meeting in Coldwater, and I think there was more concern about the traffic through the neighborhood as opposed to support going through the existing neighborhood. So, I mean, let's call it what it was, and that's really where we're just looking. I mean, there was a proposal perhaps to have an additional entrance onto Moonstone Road so that the new subdivision had their own entrance to reduce some of the traffic flow through the existing neighborhood. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other parties present? Yes, sir. Please step up and state your name.
My name is Robert Clemo, and I want to thank you guys for the in-depth presentation, and I was impressed with part of the entrance to the subdivision I didn't see before. I have seen wildlife going across Moonstone into the part of the property here where it looks to be all backyards on Moonstone Road. So I did want to ask if there's going to be any entrance there, because I have seen deer crossing into the property there. But then I think, so you can address that perhaps after, but another concern that I had was when I first moved into the area, I had a very affordable water bill, and that's changed quite a bit over the past few years. And I recognize that in the presentation it was mentioned that the storage facility, the amount of water has to be upgraded in order for the subdivision to be built. And I'm wondering if it's going to be something where the cost for that upgrade is going to be mentioned and quoted and brought to the township before a decision is made, and who's going to be paying for it, so we all know whether or not our taxes are going to go up and how that's going to take place. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Generally, development pays for development, but I'll let the developer respond to that question about concerns for water rates.
So, thank you. Just with respect to an access onto Moonstone Road, I think that was the first question you were talking about. The proposal does not propose an access onto Moonstone Road. There has been comments provided by the County of Simcoe already, which they're indicating that access is not to be to the county road. We are considering whether or not it might be appropriate to have a construction access directly onto the county road, potentially an interim access, so that construction traffic doesn't have to go down the 8th concession and reduces those impacts. Currently, the county is saying no to that, but that's something we can talk about further. The other comment with respect to the water bill, any upgrades or any increases to the water system or the storage facility, that's on the developer's back effectively. If it's oversized, for example, then there could be a front ending of those costs by either the developer or the municipality, which we could recuperate back through development charges or whatever the cost sharing agreements in the future. But we'll let the engineers sort that out. That stuff can be determined through the subdivision agreement. But really, it's not supposed to cost the existing taxpayers anything. Development's supposed to pay for development.
Correct. And thank you. And for the record, if you didn't say so, that was Mr. Robinson speaking. Okay, anyone else who wishes to speak to this matter? Oh, two, I believe. Ma'am, yes?
Hi, my name's Vicki Hannon, and my husband and I own 15 Agnes Street, which is the third last house on Agnes. We back right onto Ramey Park and have been there for 26 years. Our concern lies mainly with traffic. We know there's building in subdivisions. Do we like not having anybody behind us? Absolutely, but we realize with changing times we need additional housing. Our concerns are, one, the entrance off of the county road. So if there's discussions in the future, put my name on the list because I'd love to be there. The second is the corner right at the 8th and Agnes. That is a very busy street. There's additional people living down the 8th now towards the highway. They come up there so fast. We have many children in our neighborhood. I've seen numerous ones almost taken out like that because of the traffic coming up over that hill. There is no stop sign right there. If it could be something that's looked at in the future to have a stop, make that a 4-way stop. Right now it's a 2-way stop. If that can be looked at as a 4-way stop, I think it's keeping our children safe. We don't have sidewalks. Kids are all over the neighborhood. It's known as a great place to raise our children. We've all done that. I have a 22 and a 25-year-old. They've grown up there. So I think keeping our kids safe at that corner, never mind the traffic that's going to go through Agnes. Do I like living on a dead end? Absolutely. But I realize that's going to be opened up. So having the entrance from Moonstone, having traffic move at a slower pace, and having that 4-way stop at the corner, I think is going to slow down people coming from Moonstone down past Agnes into the entrance off of the 8th. The other concern, there is the spillway, the waterway, the creek, the ditch, whatever we're calling it, that's right behind our house. It does dry up. It's seasonal. This year is an exceptional year. Mm-hmm. It has flooded into Ramey Park. The water has been flowing through there at an astronomical pace that the ducks that are in there can just be taken away. I've been there 26 years. The township has never come to maintain that. And this year, with the additional water that we've had, the extra snow, it has flooded that soccer pitch back to the tree line. So if we are talking about maintaining ditches, spillways, waterways, I think that is one that needs to be looked at because of the additional water and the floods. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. Councillor Young?
Yeah, thank you. I just want you to be aware of the fact that your complaints about traffic and that sort of thing, and I've gone through this before with Koya Yateman, who's the former commander of the Oroya OPP detachment, and we have Jeff Dixon, who's currently there, but he's told me, rather than me calling directly type of thing, that if you call the OPP and complain, they will set up they will set up in the area, okay? But for me to do it or to talk here, but if you don't complain, they don't know, okay? So I suggest you call and anybody here and do complain, and he's advised me they will set up and address the problem, okay?
Yep, thank you very much, Councillor Young. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, please. Let's just state your name.
Yes, I'm Susan Burke, and we live on Valley View Drive. We've been there now for 21 years. My parents were there. They're not alive anymore, but they've been there for since 1982, when Moonstone was pretty sleepy, and there were very few houses anywhere. So we're not. We've seen the growth, and that's fine as long as it's calculated, careful growth. I commend the developer and the team for looking into a lot of things. Unfortunately, we were not able to go to the Coldwater meeting. My question tonight, and there may be more later, but my question tonight is, we have seen a small building on the 7th called a fire hall, and then it became a little more official, and it was largely volunteer firefighters. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but with these additional homes and the increasing size of Moonstone, has it been addressed about the firefighting services that are available to the existing community and to the new community? And again, I apologize for not being at the meeting on the 5th, but there are times when I wonder if, being where we are in Moonstone at the north end of the county, almost at Tay Township, so to speak, if sometimes we might be forgotten. But I do acknowledge the road work, the cleanup work for the garbage, all that has been extremely good. So I commend the county for that. But it is the firefighting service that I wonder if it'll be available to meet the future need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone from staff wish to comment on the firefighting?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I think the only comment that staff would have is that those comments would be taken back to emergency services, and those types of reviews would be conducted by the fire chief and their experts to determine the extent of the service and the ability to meet the standards that the township's required to meet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnell. Anyone else in chambers who wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sonia Schiebel. I'm Richard Mugridge's partner. I just have a question for the builders in regards to a comment they made with...
oh, sorry. Could you elevate the microphone? Yeah,
Sure.
I don't think we got... And repeat your name,
Can you
please.
hear me now?
Yes, we can.
So one of the things they mentioned is that none of the roads are going to really need improvement around the subdivision. And I just sort of disagree with that comment in regards to line 8, which needs a lot of improvement. Part of that, I think, the challenge is going to be when the flooding, when they have the catchment ponds still have to run off somewhere. And right now, if you look at line 8, it's a disaster after the winter. It always is. So, left and right of line 8, and there's, residents that live down here. The road is not properly maintained now. My question is to the builders, are they going to maintain that road in regards to the catchment systems draining down onto line 8? And then the other question being, these trails are lovely, and I've seen so many beautiful plans in so many different towns for parks and trails, and then they never happen often. And then who maintains them if they do happen? Is it going to be the township that maintains those trails? Who's going to take the liability for those trails? So this is where, putting together a subdivision plan, it looks lovely. The illustrations, I worked in finance for many years. We had lovely illustrations. But, the illustration looks great and the intentions seem to be great, which is awesome. But the question being, the trails get put in, who takes care of them? And who maintains the liability for them? So those are my two questions in regards. Also for the township, I do want to mention, and Richard had brought this up, there are other subdivisions in the town that have not been built out. And I understand also the need for growth. But when we have numerous subdivisions, numerous lots in the area, and those lots are not being taken advantage of, 19 lots in the subdivision beside Richard's property, why are we looking at putting in another subdivision when we have property that's available for development? That's a question I think that the township should be asking as well. We do need housing in Canada. We do need housing in Ontario, but it has to be affordable. And are we looking at affordable housing, or are we looking at more housing that nobody can afford? And that would be sort of a question to the members of the council.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from chambers who wishes to address the matter? No? Oh, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Okay, so there's been a couple of questions. I think the comment we just heard had to do with again the functionality or mechanics of stormwater management, and in fact I think it was Ms. Hannon's comment that also she was talking about the nature of the weather events that we've just experienced and how the site has been characterized by some flooding and high water events. I guess the only thing I can or the way that I would respond to that is to say that, again, my read and understanding of the engineer's report that has specifically looked at pre and post development flows is that the condition that exists there today is characterized as man-made, and water has basically just gone the way water goes, which is downhill. And so the nature of the technical work and the engineering that goes into, again, trying to consider how in a post-development scenario to try to maintain that situation is well, it's precisely why you have people like this as part of the team informing the project. Also the comment about the four-way stop, again, there's, I mean, as far as a four-way stop, the developer of the Robinsons, I think, are a 25% stakeholder in that ultimate decision. So that's something that, again, if through the fullness of time and build out of the development, if that's something that the municipality feels is warranted, then that's a step the municipality certainly can consider. And then maintenance of the proposed trail system. Again, I think what the Robinsons have put on the table here is again a proposal that tries to recognize that Moonstone as a settlement is not. It's not urban. It's not Aurelia. It's not Barrie. And it's the reason why a lot of people have moved there in the first place is, again, for that reason. And so again, the opportunity to create these trail linkages internally, ideally, because these linkages don't necessarily exist around the site, but the opportunity to create those is, again, it's a proposal that's on the table. But those linkages would ultimately be vested with the municipality, and maintenance would be vested with the municipality.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jones, as would the roads and the other infrastructure. So thank you for that. And anyone else who wishes to comment? Okay, seeing none, then we'll carry on. Any comments received during the course of the meeting, Mr. Karaiskakis, or here meeting?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Is there? I don't believe there's a motion to be read for this. Is there, Madam Deputy Clerk? No.
My apologies, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
There's no motion for this.
No, correct. This is just for public
for
input.
meeting purposes.
Thank
right.
you.
Good. Thank you very much. Having said that, we'll close this public meeting, and thank you to everyone for coming out tonight and for your comments and for trying to be as brief as you could be. And I know that it's a passionate issue when these developments come up. So with that, we'll move on to item 5B on the agenda, which is application 2025 ZBA 17. The applicant is 2564150 Ontario Inc., Johnson's Fry Shack. Municipal address is 1937 Horseshoe Valley Road East. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA 17, submitted by 2564150 Ontario Inc. on lands municipally known as 1937 Horseshoe Valley Road East. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Might we open the door again, please? Oh, thank you very much, sir. Please be advised that the hearing is being digitally recorded for the purpose of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a continue on to the public hearing. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on the matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Environmental Services, March 10, James Cordery, March 14 and April 1st, Dana Patterson, March 16 and April 21, Township of Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services, March 17, County of Simcoe Transportation and Engineering, March 28, Township of Oro-Medonte Municipal Law Enforcement Division, April 10, and Bridge Gas, April 14, Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 15, and Operations Division, April 22, and Tara Ewert, dated May 7, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I'm actually going to turn it over to the agent who will be doing the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I ask the agent, Sherry Lynn McDowell, who is registered to speak to the application. Ms. McDowell, are you there, please?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We can hear you and we can see the presentation. So please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Sherilyn McDowell from SD Consultants, and I'm here to present the temporary zoning bylaw amendment application for the property located at 1937 Horseshoe Valley Road East in the township of Oro-Medonte. Next slide. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposed amendment and to invite feedback from both council and the public. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and addressing any questions you might have. The subject property is approximately 4,013.8 square meters with a frontage of 107.5 meters. It is currently vacant and has been developed into a seasonal business known as the Johnson Fry Shack that offers food, seating, and a play area. Next slide. Here we see the site in its surrounding context, including a 200 and 500 meter walking radius. The area includes a mix of residential, commercial, and rural land uses, and the subject site is well integrated into the local fabric. It's located on the south side of the Horseshoe Valley Road East at the intersection of Highway 12 and Vine Street. Next slide. The property is designated under the rural settlement area in the official plan and is zoned as local commercial. While the use as a refreshment stand aligns with the intent of the local commercial zoning bylaw, the current bylaw does not permit a refreshment stand as a principal use. Next slide. We're proposing a 3-year temporary zoning amendment to permit a refreshment stand as a primary use, to reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 1.43 meters, and to permit a 10-meter setback for a septic tank from the County Road 22 instead of the required 15 meters. Next slide. The proposed layout includes a 27-meter fry shack, a fenced staff area with a storage shed, 2 portable washrooms, and an existing septic tank with the addition of a biofilter shed. We also have a 1,300 square meter outdoor seating area and 176 meter square play area. We provide 30 parking spots and safety bollards along Highway 12. Next slide. Access to the site is from Horseshoe Valley Road, and no through traffic will be introduced onto Vine Street. A transportation brief confirms no negative impact on the traffic as peak hours trips remain low since the site has already been operational seasonally. Next slide. These are some recent images of the property showing the existing fry shack, the play area, and the seasonal use. This is a well-loved local and college traffic stop that offers a safe and friendly family experience. Next slide. The application is supported by a full set of technical studies. We have a traffic brief that confirms low trip generation with no traffic concerns, a noise assessment that confirms compliance with MECP limits, stormwater management, no new runoff, grading ensures flow control. We have grading plans, photometrics, building drawings, and more. All the findings support the continued use with minimal impact. Next slide. In closing, this application is intended to regularize and support a local business that has already proven to be a positive contributor to the community. It is consistent with planning policies and is technically supported and enjoys strong public support. We welcome any feedback from council or the public. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Committee members, do you have any questions or concerns with regard to the application? Councillor Bart?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Ms. McCarroll. There have been some communications from some residents with some concerns. What's the next step for those concerns that they have in this process? Is this just a public meeting at this point? Or will they be incorporated or considered in as this project attempts to move forward?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Bard. So tonight is the public meeting. So the purpose of tonight is to collect comments. We have received comments from the public already, written comments. Those comments will be incorporated into the report, and we'll take those into consideration when we review all the studies that have been provided to us. We are going to provide the applicants with a summary of all the comments received to date that they can address and provide revise either studies or site plan to address those comments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, please, supplemental, Councillor Bard.
Actually, I don't see her last name, but this question, McDowell, for Miss McDowell, can you back up a couple slides, or is this on our end?
Sorry, it's on your end, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, right there's good. So in the bottom left-hand corner of that picture on the left, it looks like there's some storage, etc. Is that part of the neighbor's property or the property that's, I guess what I'm wondering is this site plan would go to just the one property, not both properties, and is there some way to make sure that there isn't overflow to different properties?
Yes, that's correct. That is a separate property, and as part of the site plan, we are proposing a full fence there to close off the property to provide no access.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Young, please.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I read the complaints as well as everybody else on the council here, and these are, Mr. Johnson here, they're sophisticated people in terms of their businesses, and they've been operating for some time. So what was the reason they provided for not initially going to get the required permits?
So we actually did initially have permission to have the fry shack. I think it was just we had a permit for a refreshment stand, and so I think what happened was that when the township approved that, it was in the mindset that it was a small operation, but as the Johnsons are, it wasn't small. Like they went, out, all out on it, and that kind of come back to it needing to be an amendment made from what it initially was going to be allowed. So there was a permit that was applied for the refreshment stand, and then it was revoked.
Okay, thank you very much. Supplemental, Councillor Young?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy. Did I hear you say the property was vacant, meaning it's not operating right now? Is that going to always be a seasonal business, or is it going to be year-round? Thank you.
So just seasonal. They tend in the long term to develop the site out into, possibly like a restaurant or something like that. So right now, this provides a use to the property while those plans go on, because they take a few years. So that's why we've asked for 3 years. And then, yes, it is seasonal in operation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, I have 2 questions. One is, you mentioned that it was operating and then the permit was revoked. Can you explain why it was revoked?
I'm not entirely sure on all the logistics. I think that there's some gray area about the zoning bylaw and a refreshment stand being a primary use on a property and whether that's permitted. And I think because the use, drew a lot of traffic, there was the play center set up, it kind of grew larger than just, I think what was intended was like a fry stand that a few people stopped at. And so when that happened, then it was determined that it would be a site plan application. So the use was stopped, and I guess now we're here to try to rectify that and hopefully open for the new season.
Yes, please go ahead,
Thank you.
Councillor.
And supplemental, I actually drove by the site today, and I noticed that there was work being done around the boulevard or the border edges of it. So would that be in relation to the requirement of noted here from our environmental services director that some of this area needed to be restored to pre-encroachment conditions? Is that the
Yes.
activity that's happening right now?
Yeah. So essentially the gravel extended past the property lines, and there was just work done that was actually extended past the property line. So part of our comments that we got was to remove that gravel and then reinstate topsoil. Move the fencing was just past the property line, so it had to be 0.3 meters within the property line. So those are trying to rectify the issues that overstep the boundaries of the property in this work that had been done.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further? Yes, Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Through you to Ms. McCarroll. Could you flip to the last slide for me, please? Whoever's operating. Yes, the application seeks to facilitate a refreshment stand as the primary use for a period of 3 years. What happens after the 3 years with this application and the zoning changes that may happen here?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Schell, the intention is that they're proposing to have the Fry Shack as a temporary use for a period of 3 years. Following that, they're proposing a permanent restaurant, at which time they'll have to go through a new site plan application for that new structure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that many more questions from the committee? No, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone registered to speak tonight?
Yes, we've received one registration, Tara Ewart, who is via Zoom.
Okay, please connect Ms. Ewart. Oh, Stewart, was it? Sorry.
No, it was Ewart.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Please proceed.
Okay, I'm quite not sure how to go about this. I sort of just wrote a letter and just wanted to hear the outcome. Can I just read my letter?
Well, we have the letter on record, so
Okay.
that wouldn't be necessary to save everybody the time and the inconvenience. And it's been,
So
I'm
I
getting
guess some
nods
of my
from the
main-
planning staff. So, yes, sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
So some of my main concerns, these reports were done in February, saying no traffic, extra noise. Well, February they're closed. As a longtime resident in the area, there is extra traffic, there is extra noise, there is smells with nasty fry truck smells that just come with that type of business. There was also a huge, there was seagulls. We've had extra vermin in the area because of garbage bins overflowing. That was their first couple months in business. I'm not quite sure how they got the permits if the local zoning doesn't support a refreshment stand, a fry truck. The septic system, they were draining gray water into our ditch. So I'm not quite sure how that was done when there is an existing septic system. I'm not quite sure how the rear yard setback implications are around the surrounding homes. And the corner of Highway 12 East and Horseshoe Valley Road is very busy with traffic with the Esso station, the Tim Hortons. It is a very dangerous area. And this food truck has added additional traffic. In fact, my road on Vine Street had additional traffic when the back gate was open because people were walking or driving there to access it from my residential road. There is a bit of a concern of alcohol, serving alcohol with the age of handling alcohol as 18 with a smart serve training. I'm just wondering if the business has a protocol when hiring high school students under 18 to comply with that. And prior to the fry truck opening, dump trucks were constantly dumping snow loads throughout the day and night, which was disrupting for sleep. But I also wondered, it caused additional runoff to go through our water drainage system, but I wondered what was in that snow due to chemicals, where it came from, if they even had permits for it. Some of our neighbors still have dug wells, so there's risk of contaminating their drinking water. After the snow melted, dump trucks took loads and loads of soil out of the property in question, and then they brought in loads and loads of other material. I'm not sure, again, if permits were obtained, where it came from, or what it was. And then recently, the week of April 22nd, there was excavating on the property. The back gate was open and the tractor was pulling out soil and dumping it into the ditch where they had previously dumped the gray water. Again, I'm not aware if that's a permit. I usually don't see businesses digging in township ditches. So those are my major concerns.
Okay, well, thank you very much for those, and we have them on record now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else registered to speak, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Anyone in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one wishing to speak to this matter, then we could, Councillor Young, please proceed.
Taking over from you. You mentioned alcohol. Were they or are they serving alcohol? What is your concern about that? I understand it's an underage thing, but go ahead. I'm just curious, the fact you mentioned alcohol.
Just that they had proposed through their social media that they were going to be serving alcohol. And I just have concerns of compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Young. Okay, no other questions from members of the committee? Okay, seeing none, then any communication received during the course of the meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chair, comments received from the Manager of Development Engineering dated May 7th, 2025.
Okay, thank you.
So I can summarize them for you.
Sure.
It's typical site plan comments related to lighting plan, grading plan comments with respect to swales, noise study to consider activities in the parking lot in conjunction with the traffic study, and with regards to delivery vehicles and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Okay, so if there's no one else, no comments, no one in the chambers, then we will close this public meeting and then proceed to the next item on the agenda. Okay, with that, we will proceed to application number 2025 ZBA-21. The applicant is Hang Gao and Zhu Han. Concession 12, Part Lot 21. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA-21, submitted by Hang Gao and Zhu Han on lands municipally known as Concession 12, Part Lot 21. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will we proceed to a public hearing. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any communication received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 15, and Bridge Gas, April 16, and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, dated April 25, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA 21 has been submitted for lands located on concession 12, part lot 21 within the rural settlement area of Hawkstone. The subject lands are currently zoned agricultural rural and are designated rural settlements in the township's official plan. The property is currently vacant and is being used for agricultural purposes. The purpose of the application is to rezone a portion of the subject property from the agricultural rural exception 15 zone to the residential 1 zone. This application is to fulfill a condition of consent applications 2024 B18, B19, and B20 that were conditionally approved on December 4th, 2024 by the Development Services Committee for the purpose of creating 3 new residential lots fronting onto Ridge Road East. The image on the screen there shows the public notice sign erected in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. This image on the screen shows the applicant's consent sketch and the zoning sketch. So the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone lots 1, 2, and 3 shown on the sketch from the agricultural rural exception zone to the residential 1 zone, and is to fulfill a condition of the consent applications that conditionally approved these 3 residential lots. A couple of images on the screen show views looking east and west along Ridge Road. A few more images on the screen showing views of the proposed residential lots. Currently, they're under agricultural cultivation, but have been conditionally approved by the Development Services Committee. So those 3 shots there show generally the location of the proposed residential lots. Mr. Chair, this concludes staff's summary of the application. The purpose of this public meeting is to receive comments from the public. Due to the minor nature of the rezoning application, a staff report and recommendation and the amending zoning bylaw has been prepared for committee's consideration and is identified later on in the agenda tonight. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll just ask the applicant if they wish to address this matter. No, seeing committee members, do you have questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone in chambers who came to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing no one wanting to speak to this matter. Any communication received during the course of the meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Email correspondence received dated May 7th, 2025 from Jackie Hill. Provided comments not in support of the application, concerns related to drilling wells and the water table with respect to the 3 lots and the wells associated with this.
Correct. And just by way of commentary, I believe the hydraulic investigation was supported future wells on the land or required the applicant to provide them.
That's correct, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. A hydrological study has been required as a condition of the consent application and is currently being prepared by the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. With regard to that new information, any comments from committee? Okay, seeing, Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Deputy, through you to Mr. Karaskakis. Who follows up to confirm that those the testing is being done?
That it's being done?
Yes.
The applicant would be the one to follow up to ensure that the necessary work is being prepared and completed. The result of that would be a report to be prepared by the consultant to be submitted to the township for review and either acceptance or with comments to be referred back to the consultant who prepared that report.
Okay, I'm just asking that because I understand the concerns of the local people there are concerned during the construction. If something changes, something happens, how are they protected? How are their wells protected or being protected? Because you don't know until you get in there drilling if there's been something's created. So what happens then? Like, do you stop? You say no go, no, you're not continue drilling and digging? Where do we go?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Schell, there would be monitoring that would have to be done to ensure that there's that the pressure, that the water pressure is still viable, that it hasn't decreased as a result of these new wells. During the testing, the applicant will have to prepare test holes to determine adequate depth and to ensure that there's sufficient pressure, and then as a result that there isn't any indirect consequences in the area. So when these lots are created, new homes being constructed, new wells, proper wells drilled, if the residents do identify any decrease in pressure or concerns with that, they could contact the township. Township doesn't regulate wells. That's more of a provincial matter, but we can direct them to the appropriate contact.
Okay, good, thanks. I hope that satisfies everybody out there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schell. Was there a concern that wanted to be addressed from the chamber? Please, Mr. Hangao. Please state your name.
Yeah. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Hangao. I'm the applicant and the landowner for the property. The water, I already make a contract with the Cambin. They are engineering firm in Barrie, and they will do the testing well. 2 of them for the total area, and actually for these 3 lots will be 1 testing well. Going down should be about 200 feet about that area. During the testing, for the pumping testing, the Cambin always have some other, like a well sensor, will put underneath my neighbor's well, monitor the water draw down when they pumping out. Last time they do 6 hours non-stop pumping water with a full volume, and then at the same time they monitor the well draw down on my neighbor. If there not enough water for my neighbor, the project will stop. That's they're from engineers, so we believe them. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you for answering that further.
Okay, that's excellent. Any further questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, and the motion will come at the end of the meeting. So if there are no further questions or comments, then I'll close the current meeting, and then we'll move on to the public hearings. So with that, thank you everyone for your participation, and we'll move on to item 6A, application 2024A44. Applicants are Thomas, Leo, and Marju Sagi, I hope I've gotten that right, of 217 Lakeshore Road West. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application, 2024A44, submitted by Thomas, Leo, and Marju Sagi on lands municipally known as 217 Lakeshore Road West. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, have there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence has been received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Development Engineering, March 17, Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, March 26 and April 24, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Department, dated March 28, George Bartolo, March 29, and Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, dated April 15, 2025.
Thank you very much. Now I'll turn the meeting over to Yubing Fan, planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. Fan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Lava. The minor variance application 2024-A44 is applied for the property located at 217 Lakeshore Road West. The property is zoned shoreline residential and designated shoreline in the township's official plan. The current use of the property is residential. Next, please. This slide presents the purpose of the application. The applicants are proposing to legalize 3 sheds that were built without applicable permits. And now the applicants are seeking relief from Section 5.1.3D of the zoning bylaw for the subject structures. Next, please. The image on the left-hand side is an aerial photo of the property, and the image on the right-hand side shows that a public notice sign has been posted on the subject property. Next, please. This slide shows the site plan. The 3 sheds are located in a row from 1.1 meters to 1.2 meters from the adjacent interior lot lines. Next, please. This slide shows the elevation drawings of the proposed sheds, and we can see that they have more than 1 story, and the area of the second story is larger than the first story. Next, please. These 2 drawings are the floor plans of the sheds. The left-hand side drawing shows the first story, and the right-hand side shows the second story. The Township Planning Department includes any area with a ceiling height of more than 1.8 meters in the total floor area calculation. And on the right-hand side drawing, we can see that the second story of the shed has an area of around 36 square feet, which is 3.3 square meters. So this area has a ceiling height exceeding 1.8 meters, resulting in a total floor area of the building exceeding 10 square meters. Hence, the required interior yard for the sheds is 2 meters. Next, please. These 2 pictures shows us the views looking east and west along Lakeshore Road West. Next, please. These photos show all the existing structures on the subject property, including a detached accessory structure, 4 sheds, and a single detached dwelling. Next, please. This photo shows us the 3 sheds that are subject to this application. Next, please. This photo shows the view looking from Lakeshore Road West. We can see that there are mature cedar hedges along the front property line, which fully screen the subject property from the road, and 3 sheds are not visible from the road. Next, please. Okay. So this slide concludes my presentation. It is recommended that the minor variance application 2024-A44 be approved, as the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act and conforms to or is consistent with applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies, and presents good planning. The recommended conditions are listed on this slide. They are all standard conditions except condition E, that the owners enter into a development agreement with the township to ensure that the 3 detached accessory structures are not used for human habitation or for home industry. Thank you all committee members. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fan. Now ask the applicant, Leo Saji, and who can correct my pronunciation of his name when he comes up to the microphone and states his name. If he has anything to add to the staff report. Mr. Saji, please.
It's close, it's Saggy.
Saggy, there we go.
Yeah, I'm here representing
my family on this property. We've been in that, that's been a family cottage. It's actually, you know, you call it a residence, but it's a family cottage. Essentially, my grandfather moved into the area back in the 50s, I guess, when it was a Shellswell farm. So it's been in the family that kind of for that duration. So kind of, and you can see by the pictures, we don't even really use it into winter, right? So nothing's plowed, nothing's done, whatever, right? So, but it's just kind of like a fun summer place to be at. I think the presentation kind of covered everything we went on with. I think the only thing I would probably like to clarify is we did reach out to the township before we started down this path. My son actually reached out, you know, and he made a call to find out, you know, said we were building 3 sheds, and he found out, and he asked some questions. It sounds, you know, maybe he didn't ask enough questions, but we found out that if the shed had a footprint of less than 107 square feet, then you're allowed to be 1 meter from the property line. Right, so that was a check, and then the height had to be, I don't remember the number, but a certain height, and you weren't allowed plumbing, but you would be allowed electrical. So that's the kind of premise that we went ahead with, and that's when we found out that no, that didn't apply. That's when we went through the application process. So it's not that we willfully didn't want to go for a permit, we didn't think it was necessary.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Saggy.
Saggy.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Oh, geez, this side of the table is just loaded with interest. Councillor Young first. Yes, my favorite.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just got a few questions, Mr. Sagi. What was the original intention of the previous owner in building 3 identical ones? And it's highly unusual that you would see that on any property. Eh? I'll just leave it at that for time being. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's a good question, actually. As I said, it's a family cottage, so there's three owners on the deed to that property, right? So kind of the buildings are common use buildings, and with the sheds, the idea was that, you know, as you know, you collect crap and, you know, equipment and tools and water sports equipment, everything. Everybody, each family would have kind of their own place to have a storage place to put it, right? Because we were kind of busting out of the seams, you know, inside the house isn't a large house or anything, right? So kind of that was the intent, was to allow, you know, an individual family to have control over that one domain in that area. And what was also important, it didn't want to look like Shedville, right? It had to look good, right? I mean, it's a nice property. It's on Lake Simcoe. I mean, we are beside an old marina with broken windows and everything, and kind of provides a visual barrier, which that really helps as well, right? I'm not sure if you guys have seen the marina lately, but today there was a parking lot of boats across the whole front. But anyways, so that's kind of what the thinking is.
Supplemental, Councilor Young, or
yeah, just what is it you intend to do with them? Are just storage as well, sort of thing? Obviously, the plumbing cannot be allowed for human habitation, but there's no intention to do that, eh? It's just, again, they're going to remain as storage, yeah?
Yeah, storage and like tools, equipment. Like everybody's going to have their own priorities and what to do with it, whatever. Like there could be some crafts or hobbies potentially to do with it, but really, it's really just to kind of declutter the house and the boathouse and everything else that gets moved around in the place, right? Yeah. So it's kind of.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Young. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Saggy, for speaking. I'm a cottage owner myself with multiple family members, and I know that often it's difficult to find a place for everybody to put their head down. So I do want to confirm with you that these are not being used as a bunkie or a sleeping cabin for overflow from the family.
That is correct.
Okay, so then a supplementary to staff, please. What steps do we take to ensure that that is not happening? And if we do find it is happening, what's the result of that?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Hutchison, the implementing zoning bylaw prohibits human habitation in a detached accessory building, so it would not be permitted as of right by the zoning bylaw. There is a condition there that Ms. Fan did indicate that the owner will enter into a development agreement, which will get registered on title of the property. That will ensure that these three structures are not to be used for human habitation, not just for the current owners, but subsequent in the future, if all three owners were to sell, then it is on title, and prospective purchasers would be able to see that registered document.
Supplemental?
Yeah, supplemental. Sorry, Mr. Karaskakis, if I wasn't clear enough with my question. Even though the applicant has agreed to that, if they go around that agreement, how does the township ensure that they're not being used for the purpose that's been stated? And if they find that they have been using it for something other than storage, what happens then?
Through you, Mr. Chair, through building inspections, we'll identify to ensure that it's not constructed or built to accommodate human habitation. So different parts of the building code, through any complaints that we may receive through the general public, if there's any evidence that people are sleeping in any of these structures, then our bylaw enforcement staff will go out there and will investigate to determine if there actually is evidence of sleeping in there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison and Mr. Karaskakis. Any further questions from any members of the committee? Okay, seeing none. Any one in chambers who came to speak to this matter? I don't believe that. I believe those people are the next application. Are there any further correspondence received during the course of the hearing, Mr. Karaskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have a motion for the application, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended one that DS 2025-037, Yubing Fan, Planner, Minor Variance Application 2024-A44, Sagi, 217 Lakeshore Road West, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A44, specifically for permission to legalize 3 detached accessory buildings, sheds, with a reduced setback of 1.1 meters, 3.6 feet, from the interior side lot line on lands municipally known as 217 Lakeshore Road West, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-037. 3, that the applicants be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Sagi. Enjoy your 3 storage sheds. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess for the purposes of the council urgencies. So thank you very much, and give us 5 minutes and we'll be right back.
Mr. Chair, we're live.
Thank you very much. Councillor Young is just currently indisposed to be back presently. Yes, Mr. Mayor. You might want to turn your camera on, Mr. Mayor.
I gotta find him. Just give me 1 second, please. Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm just wondering if we could move 7B up and deal with now, as the applicant has been patiently sitting, and it may take us an hour to get through the rest, and then he can leave the chamber if he wishes to.
Thank you very much. Do we need a motion to break from procedure?
If there's a mover and seconder, please.
Councillor Hutchison moves. Mayor Greenlaw seconds. Sorry.
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended that procedural bylaw number 2023-043 be waived in order to allow consideration of item 7B at this time.
Thank you very much. And to those of you online, I beg your indulgence. So we're proceeding. All in favor? Yes, I have a vote, I suppose. Yeah, all right. Okay, all in favor? The motion is carried. Please move ahead. And we're going to item 7B. And may we have the motion for 7B, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Bard. It is recommended one that DS 2025-046, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, reconsent application 2024-B14 Partridge 1307 Line 3 North be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2024-B14 pertaining to lands located at 1307 Line 3 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, to create a new lot having a lot area of approximately 0.9 hectares, 2.2 acres, and a lot frontage of approximately 134.1 meters, 439.9 feet, containing a dwelling that is surplus to the applicant's consolidated farm operation, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-046. 4, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarifications required for the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Okay, with that, we can proceed back to the agenda in the order. So with that, we go back to 6B, application 2025-A05, Betsy Blackall of 81 Parkside Drive. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application 2025-A05 submitted by Betsy Blackall on lands municipally known as 81 Parkside Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence from the Township of Oro-Medonte, Development Engineering, March 17, Operations Division, March 18, Building Division, March 20, and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, dated March 25, 2025.
Thank you very much. And I'll turn the meeting over to George Vadaboncourt, Manager, Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadaboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the committee. I will be presenting minor variance application 2025-A05 submitted by Ms. Blackall. The location of the application is at 81 Parkside Drive. The property is 0.19 hectares or 0.48 acres in size. It has 30.8 meters of frontage on Parkside Drive, or 100 feet of frontage, and it has a depth of 61.8 meters or 203 feet. The zoning is shoreline residential, and the official plan is shoreline, and the current use is residential. Next slide, please. So the applicant recently purchased this property and is demolishing the existing unit and is proposing to replace it with a larger new dwelling unit, approximately 1 meter closer to the high water mark than the existing, with a new setback of 15.4 meters or 49.34 feet from the average high water mark, instead of the required 20 meters or 65 feet. The applicant also wishes to legalize the larger than approved floor area of the accessory building garage that was constructed previously on the property, and a second floor loft was added. So the applicant is seeking relief in the zoning bylaw in two areas. The required rear yard setback of 20 meters from the high water mark. They are proposing a setback of 15.4 meters. And the maximum floor area of an accessory building, the maximum under the bylaw is 70 square meters, and they're proposing 133 square meters, or 1,437 square feet. Next slide, please. So the image on the left shows the location on the property on Parkside Drive, and the image of the right shows the public's notice sign posted. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the lot plan for the property, and you can see the accessory garage is circled there, and then you'll see the dark shaded area is the proposed footprint of the new residential unit. There's 3 red lines on the property. So the one at the bottom is the high water mark, and the one in the middle is 15 meters setback from the high water mark, and the one in the middle of the proposed location of the cottage is the 20 meter setback. The proposed building is set back within the permitted limits of the zoning bylaw from the interior lot line, but it is close to existing vegetation, and I'll speak to that in a minute. Next slide, please. So these are some images of the proposed new dwelling unit. So the row on the top is basically what the new dwelling unit will look like from the road. You could refer to that as the rear of the unit, and the row along the bottom is what's facing the lake with the large picture window there, and you can see the little indentation for the window, and that's what encroaches that additional number of meter into what was the previous footprint of the older dwelling unit on the property. Next slide, please. So this is the floor plan of the new proposed dwelling unit, and you can see that picture window at the bottom extends a little further out, and it's just nudging that 15 meter setback from the high water mark. Next slide, please. So this is some images of the accessory building, and you can see the front and rear views, and those will be shown on some photos in the next few slides. Next slide, please. This is a floor plan of the accessory garage, and that's the main floor plan. And next slide, please. And this is the second floor floor plan. You can see a little stairwell, storage area in the middle, and there's a finished bathroom in that second floor loft area. Next slide, please. So this image shows Parkside Drive on the left looking west, and on the slide on the right is looking east along Parkside Drive. Next slide, please. The image on the left is the driveway into the property, and you can just see the accessory garage to the right of that slide, and then the image on the right is the actual accessory building. with the two garage doors facing the road. Next slide, please. So the image on the left is the existing dwelling that's going to be demolished, and the image on the right is the front of the dwelling to be demolished. And you'll see a little. There's a hot tub just in front of the porch on the right hand side. Hot tub is located. Next slide, please. This shows, the image on the left shows the rear yard drop off to the lake, and the image in the center shows the drop off to the shoreline, and then the rear yard with the drop off from the other side of the rear yard. Next slide, please. So the image on the left shows the vegetation along the west property line, and this is the area where the house will be, the new dwelling unit will be located, and it'll be, as I indicated earlier, it'll meet the minimum requirements of the zoning bylaw, but it will get pretty tight to that vegetation buffer. And you can see with the image on the right how, you know, the cedar hedge is quite mature, and with the trees and whatnot. And I was talking with the neighbor, and he indicated that due to the ice storm, those cedar hedges don't look the same right now. So unfortunately, some of the vegetation has been damaged. But one of the conditions is that the owner, if there's any further damage, the owner has to repair or replace that vegetation. Next slide, please. This shows the vegetation along the east property line and then along the west property line, just to give a further indication. The area, the lot is well screened with mature vegetation. Next slide, please. So it is being recommended that minor variance application 2025 A05 submitted by Ms. Betsy Blackall be approved on the basis that it meets the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. It is in conformity with the applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies and represents good planning. Staff are recommending a number of conditions of approval listed on this slide and the following slide and in the staff report. There are several special conditions in addition to the standard conditions pertaining to requirement that the accessory building not be used for human habitation. The location of the foundation wall be verified to be no closer than 15.04 meters or 49.34 feet to the Lake Simcoe average high water mark, and that the vegetative buffer on the west interior property line and rear of the proposed dwelling be maintained. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions that members of the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vadaboncourt. And by rear of the property, I presume you mean roadside.
Pardon me?
By rear of the property, I presume you mean roadside.
Correct.
Yes, okay. For those who are not on the lake, that can be an awkward distinction. Do we, okay, now it's the applicant, Betsy Blackall, who's registered to speak, if she wishes to add anything to Mr. Vadaboncourt's presentation. Ms. Blackall, if you're there.
Yeah, hi, I am here, and thanks, George. I think George pretty much stated it all, unless anyone has any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. It's been a little while getting to this point. Committee members, do you have questions for the applicant or Mr. Vadaboncourt? Okay, seeing no questions. Is anyone registered to speak to this matter? There's no one here in chambers.
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, perfect. Any further correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Thank you, Mr. Karaskakis. May we now have the motion, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended that DS 2025-022, George Vadaboncourt, Manager Planning Special Projects, minor variance application 2024 A05, Blackall, 81 Parkside Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2025-05, specifically to permit a dwelling with a setback of 15.04 meters, 49.34 feet from the Lake Simcoe average high water mark, a detached accessory building with 100.0 square meters, 1,800.6 square feet of finished floor area on lands municipally known as 81 Parkside Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-022. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much for the motion. Any questions or clarifications required for the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. With that, we concludes this hearing. Ms. Blackall, thank you very much for attending the meeting. I wish to thank everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. And we wish to thank everybody for their participation. And a copy of the decision will be mailed to the agent, applicant, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we'll move on to item 6C, application 2025A13. Applicants are Joanne and Chad Nicole of 177 Medonte Side Road 2. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application 2025A13 submitted by Joanne and Chad Nicole on lands municipally known as 177 Medonte Side Road 2. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, have there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, March 18 and April 22. Building Division, dated March 20. Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, March 27 and April 15. And Township of Oro-Medonte Manager of Development Engineering, dated April 10, 2025.
Thank you very much. I now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance 2025A13 has been applied for on lands located at 177 Medonte Side Road 2. The subject property is located on the east side of Medonte Side Road 2 between Mount St. Louis Road East and Highway 12. The subject property is zoned agricultural rural in the township zoning bylaw and is designated green lands in the township's official plan. And they're currently a single detached dwelling and a detached accessory building currently occupies the site. The applicants are proposing to construct an addition to the existing single detached dwelling and are seeking the relief to the minimum required interior side yard setback to facilitate the proposed addition. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback of 4.5 meters, and the applicants are proposing the addition to be 2.69 meters from the southerly interior side yard. The image on the left shows an aerial photo of the subject property outlined in red, and the image on the right shows an excerpt of the township's official plan, which shows the natural heritage and natural features of the property. And the property currently constitutes a woodland and a unevaluated wetland located at the rear of the property. The applicants prepared a site plan drawing which shows the existing structures on the property and the location of the proposed addition, which is outlined in red on the screen. The applicant also prepared some architectural renderings of the existing dwelling and the proposed addition. So there's the front elevation, which shows the existing dwelling with the, call it the white colored roof, and the proposed addition is to the right of that, shown in a darker shade. Similarly, the rear, the backyard, looking at the rear of the dwelling shows the proposed addition in the shade color, and the side elevation, which is the subject of the side yard setback, shows the elevation proposed by the applicants. A couple of images here show the public notice sign posted on the property and some views looking along Medonte Side Road 2. A couple of images here show the view of the subject property as viewed from the street, and the existing dwelling and the location of proposed addition. A couple of images here show the view from the rear yard looking towards Medonte Side Road 2, and the abutting neighbor to the south of who will be impacted by the interior side yard setback and the proposed addition. It's noted, the image on the right shows kind of a little property stake, which shows, looks like it's down the middle of the property line with some the little drainage swale there. So to give a little bit of context of where the property line is in this open area. Mr. Chair, planning staff will review the minor variance application in context of the 4 tests of a variance and are of the opinion that it meets the 4 tests and is considered good planning, are recommending approval of the minor variance application, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report and on the screen for your consideration. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Now it's the agent, Christine Lawrence, who's registered to speak, if she has anything to add to the staff presentation. Ms. Lawrence, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you fine.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes, as mentioned, my name is Christine Lawrence from Silverstone Design. I'm the applicant, and I believe Andy covered everything very well in the presentation, and I am here should anyone have any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawrence. That's great.
Thank you.
Committee members, do you have any questions for either Mr. Karaskakis or Ms. Lawrence? Yes. Councillor Young, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Andy, if you could just back up to 12. Yeah, I'm just curious. First time I've seen it on a rendering with, what are those posts going under the house there? Are they piers, or I haven't seen that before on a drawing submitted to the council there.
So those are helical piles. So the addition, instead of having a full dugout basement, is going to be constructed on piles. So it'll be lifted off of the ground, and there is no basement underneath the addition. And then that way it is just preserving some of the lower lying area, the swales and the wetland on that side of the home.
Just to follow, if I may. Yeah, I just looking at again number 13 there, and the front of the building, or at least the house there. So that entire structure is off the ground on piers. And what's the different distance? Do you know? I don't know if you know or not, between the bottom of the house and the ground itself. Is there an issue with water there, or what's the deal?
So no, the existing home does have a full basement. It is semi-raised above the ground, so is it probably at least 4 to 5 feet underground, with 2 to 3 feet above the ground. The existing home is, but the addition will be done on helical piles.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your questions and for your answers, Ms. Lawrence. Any further questions for the applicant? Okay. Seeing none. Anyone registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further correspondence received on this matter? Mr. Karaskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Excellent. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion for this hearing, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Young. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-040, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Reminder Variance Application 2025-A13, Nicole 177 Medonte Side Road 2 be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2025-A40, specifically to permit the construction of a 35.6 square meter, 383.5 square foot addition to the existing dwelling and a new 9.6 square meter, 104.0 square foot deck at the rear of the addition with a reduced interior side yard setback of 2.69 meters, 8.82 feet, on lands municipally known as 177 Medonte Side Road 2, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-040. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call a vote, please? All those in favor? The motion is carried. That completes the application process and closes this hearing. Thank you very much, Ms. Lawrence, for your attendance and patience.
Thank you.
And the committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to item 6D, which is the final hearing of the evening, and the application is 2024-A53. The applicant is Frank Lucetta. The municipal address is 7 Trafalgar Drive. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application 2024-A53, submitted by Frank Lucetta on lands municipally known as 7 Trafalgar Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Service Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Ms. Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on the matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 15, Operations Division, April 22, and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, dated April 25, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024-A53 has been applied for on lands located at 7 Trafalgar Drive. The subject property has a lot area of 0.82 hectares, which is about 2 acres, and currently consists of a single detached dwelling. Surrounding land uses consist of single detached dwellings to the east and west, Trafalgar Drive to the north, and Lake Simcoe to the south. The subject property is zoned residential limited service in the township zoning bylaw and is designated shoreline in the township's official plan. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing dwelling, construct a new single detached dwelling with hardscaping patio at the rear of the dwelling to accommodate a swimming pool and hot tub, and is seeking relief to the following section of the zoning bylaw, which is section 5.31 setbacks from slope, whereas the bylaw requires 23 meters setback from the top of bank or an embankment that exceeds 33%. The applicants are proposing the pool and the hardscape patio to be proposed setback at 12.05 meters and 16.11 meters from the top of the bank. The aerial photo on the screen there shows the subject property outlined in red, and image on the right shows the public notice sign posted in accordance with the Planning Act. The applicants prepared a site plan drawing showing the proposed new dwelling and the rear hardscaping patio. Hard to see on the screens there, but the dimensions, the setbacks that are subject to the variances, are shown in a red bubble, which is the 12.05 meters and the 16.11 meters setback from the top of bank. A couple of views showing looking along Trafalgar Drive. The view of the lands showing the existing dwelling to be demolished from the roadside, and proposed location of the dwelling. The applicant did install stakes showing the location of the dwelling and the rear yard. Few views here show the views of the slope, so the property does significantly drop down towards the Lake Simcoe shoreline. And this view here on the screen shows a view from the slope looking at the rear of the existing dwelling and showing the context of the location of the new dwelling. And the images on the screen here show views looking to the east and west of the adjacent properties. Planning staff have reviewed the minor variance application in the context of the Planning Act and the 4 tests of a minor variance, and are recommending approval of the minor variance application, subject to the conditions outlined on the screen. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll now ask the agent Danielle Bilodeau, who is registered to speak to the application, if she has any comments to further the staff report. Ms. Bilodeau, please.
Hi there, can you hear me all right?
I can indeed.
Perfect. So Andy touched on pretty much everything, but I'm just going to add that to ensure that this proposal will work, we did get a slope stability assessment completed, and the township did review that and deemed it acceptable. And the study did list some constraints in regards to development, so including maintaining the existing vegetation. And then in the pictures, we could see the topsoil, and there's a lot of leaf cover on the slope. So in the slope stability study, they recommended that that all be maintained, and the owners are happy with that. That's all I'll add, but if anybody does have any comments or questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the members of the committee? I see none. Well, must be very satisfied. I now ask town, has there been anybody registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Mr. Karaskakis, any additional comments come in during the course of the hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Correspondence received dated May 7th, tonight, by Gail Rakes, located at 9 Trafalgar Drive. And the comment is they have no objection to Mr. Luqueta's application and to welcome them to the neighborhood.
Oh, it's a very excellent message. Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. With that, may we hear the motion, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Shell. It is recommended one that DS 2025-047, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Read Minor Variance Application 2024-A53, Luchetta, 7 Trafalgar Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A53, specifically to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling that is set back 12.05 meters, 39.5 feet, and 16.11 meters, 52.85 feet, from the top of bank of a slope to the proposed pool and hardscape patio, respectively, on lands municipally known as 7 Trafalgar Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-047. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote? All in favor? The motion is carried. With that, this application process is closed, and as is the hearing. Thank you very much, Ms. Bilodeau, and please pass along our welcoming to the Luchetta family as well. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we move on to the reports of municipal officers. Item 7A. May we have a motion for 7A, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-020, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2024 ZBA 17, Lucas, 560 Line 8 North, be received and adopted. 2, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2024 ZBA 17, specifically to rezone the subject lands from the rural residential 2 RU/R2 zone to a rural residential 2 exception 366 RU/R2 366 zone to permit the change of use of an existing temporary garden suite to an oversized detached accessory building with an apartment dwelling unit on lands municipally known as 560 Line 8 North, Township of Oro-Medonte be approved. 3, that staff bring forth the appropriate draft bylaw for council's consideration, and 4, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much for that. Members of council or members of the committee, are there any questions or comments with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. We have previously dealt with item 7B, so we move on. May we please have a motion for item 7C, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-049, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2025 ZBA 21, Gao and Hang, Concession 12, Part Lot 21, Oro, be received and adopted. 2, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA 21, specifically to rezone the severed lands from the agricultural rural exception ARU 15 zone to the residential 1 R1 zone on the lands legally described as Concession 12, Part Lot 21, Oro, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved. 3, that staff bring forth the appropriate bylaw for council's consideration, and 4, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to the motion? Okay, seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. We are now at the addendum item. Mr. Spagnol, do you have a brief summary, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. A request was submitted to the township on May 6th from Oro Group Limited, basically asking for the deferral of their development charge fees associated with their industrial building expansion. Their industrial building expansion has went through the site plan process. They were expanding the building to approximately 9,400 square feet with additional office space. As a result of the cost associated with those development charges, they are requesting deferral of payment, which is something that can only be considered by council and approved by council. Essentially, in the past, the township has done this, to my knowledge, on one occasion with respect to one site plan application. Essentially, under the Development Charges Act, council can direct staff to prepare a bylaw and an agreement to set the terms of whatever a deferral may look like. Council can also accept the request and respectfully refuse the request if it chooses to do so, or council can come back with a direction for staff to prepare a report along with a bylaw and agreement for council's consideration at a later date. Essentially, the development charge that is applicable from the township's perspective right now has been calculated at approximately $49,000. The deferral could only apply to the township portion of that development charge rate. That is the extent of that deferral. It would be up to the property owner, the requester, to seek other considerations from the County of Simcoe or the school boards for a similar type adjustment or deferral if they chose to do so. But for the purposes of this request, the township can only deal with development charges as per its development charge bylaw. Now, one thing that I would like to note is just because of the dollar amounts that we're looking at here, whatever council decides to do, I want to have a chance just to take a look back at the applicability of the development charge bylaw just to confirm the fee that's been identified and as the charge. That can be done at a later date, either through the agreement or a bylaw if council chooses to go down the road of deferral. I'm available to answer any questions that Development Services Committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnol. Any questions with regard to this? Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to Mr. Spagnol, just so we have clarity for the public, is the deferral is not the removal of the development charge. Could you just bring clarity in that the development charge that is deferred for a later date is set at a time frame and as well with interest?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mayor Greenlaw. Yes, thank you for the question. The deferral is only deferral of payment. There can be parameters put in with respect to the collection of interest per month, 1% above prime. That can be charged as part of the, and be required as part of the agreement, but the development charge would still be required. It would be required at a later date with interest, and that has been the approach that's been taken in the past by the municipality.
Supplemental, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, if you don't mind. And just for clarity, this is not something this is something that's been considered and permitted before. I believe TNR doors, we had a similar thing set up in order to help the development and the process to move along as efficiently as possible.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Bard.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you. So maybe looking back to that past deferral, how much time, like doesn't seem to be a time frame unless I've missed something. So it's being deferred and you're talking about that's going to be agreed, but could we get some kind of ballpark at this point?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Bard. The TNR door agreement was tied to two separate payments. The deferral of the first payment was, I believe, 6 months, and then after that, it was tied to the completion of the updated development charge bylaw. So, in essence, really, council or development services can allow for an extended or a date for the payment to be provided for in the agreement, or there could be other arrangements tied to phasing of a certain nature. Now, from my perspective, I would say that establishing a date would probably be an appropriate way of dealing with this, just so that it's very clear as to when the payment date would apply. What I would like to do is circle back with our CBO to see what an appropriate date may be, and then we could work that into any potential agreement if Development Services Committee directs staff to do so.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Young, please.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Brent, do we, what is the township's portion, or if you don't know at this point in time, that's fine, but I guess if we resolve the deferral, I guess we're first up in terms of, I guess they then would go to the county type of thing, indicating that, will the township accept it? Thank you.
Through Deputy Mayor Lavoie to Councillor Young. The calculated development charge number that we have right now is $49,750. You are correct in that pending the direction of council, the property owner could go back to could go to the county to go seek a similar type arrangement. The reason why I mentioned the clarification of the development charges, there are certain percentage exemptions related to industrial buildings that I want to take a look at more closely just to see and make sure that we've got the correct numbers, so that if council decides to do this, the correct number is incorporated within the agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, please.
My apologies, and I'm not trying to prolong the meeting. Just so we have clarity, this is brought before Development Service Committee to approve, and therefore it goes to the recommendation of council to approve it, just so that the public understands it's a two-step process, because not all adjustment committees are members of council that sit on the panel. So
through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, Mayor Greenlaw, again, clarity is the proper term here. Yes, this would be one step to direct staff to bring something forward for council's consideration, most likely either at probably the May 14th council meeting, if staff can round up the information in time to get that on that agenda.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the clarification. Any further clarifications? No. My only comment is that I think the application for the deferment is based on when they get a tenant or some other unfixed date. I think it might be wise to fix a date. And I agree. I mean, Mr. Spagnol, it appears from the commentary back and forth that you need some additional time to consider this application vis-a-vis establishing what the actual number is and some of the other parameters. We might want to consider whether or not we seek an interest payment or not, depending on the period of time. It might just be an inconvenience to calculate. So notwithstanding that, I think the sooner it can perhaps by way of would we need a motion for this, or should we take the motion in the council meeting?
Deputy Mayor Lavoie, we do have a couple of draft options and motions for your consideration. I'll hand it over to the Deputy Clerk to read those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk, please.
Staff have drafted a couple of options. One would be to receive the request and refer it to staff for a report back to council. The second option was to receive the correspondence, the request be approved in principle, and that staff bring forward a draft bylaw and agreement for council's consideration. Or the third one was to receive it and then that the request be respectfully declined and advised.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're leaning towards item 2, which would sort of incorporate what's being discussed here as some form of direction to staff, and then we bring it back to council at a future date for a report. Now, there's no particular urgency here, I would gather, or is there?
Deputy Mayor Lavoie, the urgency is that in order for the building permit to be issued,
right,
the development charges would need to be paid, or there would have to be an alternative arrangement made with the municipality for the deferral. So that is in effect the urgency, because it's my understanding that the building permit is ready to go, and it's the development charge piece that is the last item.
Okay, thank you very much. So then I guess if there's any expediency that we can give this to get it on to the next council meeting, that would be appreciated. Mr. Mayor, please.
I'll motion option 2 to be implemented and voted on.
Okay. So, okay, we have a mover of the mayor and a seconder of Councillor Schell.
To clarify, Mr. Chair, the second motion was drafted that the request be approved in principle and that staff bring forth a draft bylaw and agreement for council's consideration. I just wanted to double check before I put the motion on the floor.
Yes, thank you.
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you. Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Schell. It is recommended, 1, that the correspondence dated May 6, 2025 from Lorraine Denise Smith, partner, Oro Group Limited, and presented by Brent Spagnol, Director of Development Services, request to defer development charges payment be received. 2, that the request be approved in principle and that staff bring forth a draft bylaw and agreement for council's consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarifications on the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnol and Madam Deputy Clerk, for that quick response. Okay, well, we are at the next meeting date. Please note that it is June 4th, maybe, hopefully not another playoff night. And with that, oh, it's currently 1-1, if anyone, I guess, 2-2. Oh, excuse me. May we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Young, seconded by Schell. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 8:29 p.m.
All in favor? All right. Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Mayor Greenlaw, over to you for the council meeting Following Development Services Committee.
Thank you very much, Deputy. I'd like to call the council meeting to order. May we please have a motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, May 7, 2025 be received and adopted as amended to add as item 6B, Brent Spagnell, Director, Development Services, relitigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privileged, Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT 250000177, Moulton versus Oro-Medonte Township, 2024, A56.
Thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest at this time that anyone likes to identify? Seeing none, as we know, if there's only one item, but if it does come up, identify at that time. May we have a motion for the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Are there any changes to the draft minutes at this time? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to approve the recommendations of tonight's meeting?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, May 7, 2025 be adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion for the draft bylaws, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025-033 and 2025-043 be passed in open council on the 7th day of May, 2025.
Thank you very much. Any questions regarding the draft minutes? Seeing none, or sorry, bylaws, not minutes. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. May we have a motion to go into closed session, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed session at 8:32 p.m. to discuss litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privileged, Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT 250000177, Moulton versus Oro-Medonte Township, 2024, A56.
All in favor? That is carried, and we'll see you in closed. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome back, everyone. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to rise and report out, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 8:53 p.m. and report on closed session item 6C.
I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion for item 6B, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the confidential correspondence dated April 28, 2025, and presented by Brent Spagno, Director of Development Services, and Ed Velboom, Russell Christie, LLP, relitigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT 25000177, Moulton versus Oro-Medonte Township, 2024 A56 be received, and 2, that staff and legal counsel proceed as directed by counsel.
All in favor? Any opposed? I see none. That is carried. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion for the confirmation bylaw?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-044, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, be passed in open council on the 7th day of May, 2025.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 8:55 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everybody, and go home and enjoy the end of the hockey game.